Hey guys, I'm back for another chaining video. I wanted to go a little bit slower. There were some requests after my last one to talk a little bit more about piece placement. So this will be unedited, just straight through training mode of 360, but I just want to show you an idea here of what happens when things go right, what happens when things go wrong. This just be some basics, and I'll try to explain placement of each piece. Here we go. So you always like to see a breaker on your first move, and there's a couple different setups that you'll see me do. This one here I call like bury the breaker in the corner. There's sometimes I do one called initial stack or more improv style, but that's what I do, put it in the corner. And then this piece here, because I'm committed to chaining, and lately I've been more so focusing on chaining than I usually would. So I typically would say the tough thing with deciding, because I want to go over another video later about the play styles, but the hard thing is, when do you throw in the towel? Because you're always taking a risk when it comes to which play style you pick. You know, there's the continuum where you'll either go all in on chaining, all in on gems. The more you go all in on chaining, you leave yourself exposed because you're not making as many power gems as you could. So if your opponent is, it could leave things pretty leave you in a bad spot. So the thing is that more than lately I've been stubbornly sticking to them with some success. I found that I can at least get a 6 chain most of the time. So that's what I'll be doing now, at least with this video. It won't be as much of when I would maybe in a real game abandon, but if I was stubbornly sticking to chaining, this is what I would do. So now I like to usually see my second breaker before I commit to piling that piece on. But because I didn't want to put it over here, because then I ruined the ability to make a power gem or anything off the red, I wanted to put that right there. And so now, like I say, my basic philosophy with chaining is each piece I want to be able to use it in some way to add one to the chain, just sort of simply, intuitively. So I put the red down there. So now, when I get to the green, I call it like the ignition piece, the trigger piece. It's what I start to trigger the chain. So the reason I got the red there, so I can get to it. And so now you notice I put the yellow on top of the green. And that's for a reason. So this right now I just want to keep it out of the way. But I put the green on top because now I know having breakers as around as your ignitions are much better than having pieces. Because then you can either get breakers or pieces to satisfy. The pieces are more common. It's an easier chain for you. So now, once I get that yellow there, I'll get to the green. And now I'm just burning pieces, because at this point, seeing a red here, I'm pretty committed, because I already have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I just need to add one more to make it, in my mind, you got to get at least 6 to have it be viable. So now my ignition piece, the new piece is the red. And so now if I was to put this blue up, I would not be able to use the blue like I want to. So, as you see here, I'm just adding on the ignition. I'm just moving down the line. And I'm pretty early in. I've got already 2, 4, 6 breakers, and I'm maybe 18, 19 pieces in. So now you can either commit, hey, I'm going to wait to see my next red, and then I'll nail the blue. Or, like now, I get a chance because I could add a green into the equation, and I'll go down to get the blue, and see, this worked out perfect this time, where this will satisfy the chain. So everything was pretty kind to me, and you can see here now, I'm just going to go right on down the line. So, say sometimes it'll work this nicely for you. You'll see other times it might not. But this is like what I'm talking about versus like my style. Like I said, I just like to call it simple, intuitive. If you look at that last video, you can see that with each breaker, I wasn't really planning ahead too much. I mean, obviously you got to plan a little bit to know what you're going to do with them. But the biggest thing was just that each piece extended the chain, simply. I wasn't trying to get ahead too much like the scoot across the bottom that a lot of Mexican players, the X-chainers, will use. it's great. I mean, you're going to get 10, 11, 12 chains, maybe more sometimes. But they're more advanced. They're a little bit harder to do. To me, they weren't as intuitive. And if you'll notice in that, I only used half of the board. So there's sometimes with like what I call it is like my cascade, others have called it like a waterfall style, is half the board is utilized for cascade chaining sometimes, and then I can have the other half to build freely as I want. Whereas like the scoot across the bottom, you really do need to use the whole board. When I talk about that continuum of being locked into something, that way I feel like I can keep a 60% towards chaining, 65% towards chaining, and still have options. If it falls out, I don't get the pieces that I want, to be able to survive, counter, and leave myself in a decent position for the middle game. So I'm just going to keep going through examples here, and I'll show you what happens when things don't work out. Maybe I do have to throw in the towel still. And so I've been experimenting lately with different things, but you know, you love it when a breaker comes up as your first piece, but like in this instance it doesn't. But I've mentioned lately where like I'm stubbornly sticking to chaining. So there's two things that I can do, and lately I've been doing this more, where I'll call it almost like a mishmash, just a mashup, where I stack pieces over here just so I'm leaving myself options for my breakers. I could have easily tried to build up a power gem over here, and this is like what I'm talking when I say I at least I have options to build. I'm starting to work on a blue over there, whereas like this isn't going so good. But you'll see I'm to the left with my chain. But now I put the yellow there, and this is where I talked about the mishmash. I made the stack of breakers. Now I can start to plan for things. I'm just going to slowly add one. And now I can't really use this in any way here because I'm already hinging on the green. So I'm going to save it for later. And now the same thing with the blue. Now this could be where I talked about bury the breaker. I'd almost call this almost like an improv, but maybe like an instant cascade, where now the yellow is my ignition and the blue now. So see where I did this before? So now I can get to the yellow, to the green, to the blue. And now I can't put this there because of the yellow stack I did below, so it's kind of unfortunate. But I can hinge off of another blue here. And now this is where, like I say, I start to get a bit ambitious, because now I can put that there and use it in my mix. But, you know, I'm waiting on a red down there on the bottom. I'm waiting on a lot of things, like so much so that like this next piece that comes up, I feel like I couldn't even begin to put it in, just because it'd be so ambitious, because right now this isn't going well chaining wise. I need a red breaker, I need a blue breaker, and just a lot of requirements. So I'll be honest with you, like at this point, if this was in a match, I would, even though the breakers keep coming, they're not the ones I need. I still haven't got a red. I'm getting a lot of, I mean, there's my red, but it's just almost too little too late. See, there's the time. So, you know, with this match here, I'm just going to start to look at the opponent's screen and see what he's doing. See how loud he's going to kill me. and it's just seeming less and less of a possibility. So like even for now, that green was a tough piece to play, but if I want to keep it in the game, I have to use this red as an intermediary piece here. So now, like I say, I get to the red, the green, I need a blue, and then a whole nother red. Now I can use this red here early, because like I mentioned, I need this going down. So I can put it here, because you notice how I'm one away from the red breaker. So then a piece will connect to the two. So now if I get that blue breaker, I'm still in a decent position. But again, it's not coming up. This one here, I need to find a creative way to burn. I'm still not getting the blue. So with this one here, blue never came. You know, you're preparing for the middle. But at least now, like, I got two nice power gems there. I got a red stack across the bottom, a red power gem sleeping. So if I get hit much harder than I'd hope, I got backup options. So same thing here. I'm just going to start it. And this is just, I'm going to make another video with my building principles that I'll talk about later, why I'm building the way I do. But for now, I'm just going to focus mainly on the chaining. So because I'm committed to chaining, I typically wouldn't like to ruin this power gem setup. I'm going to put that there. So I got to come to the same position again, where the breakers just aren't coming for me. So I'm going to continue to make my gems at least, so I give myself some options here. And even now, like, it isn't really what I want to do. So at this point, because I have an open 4, I can elect to attack the diamond and have, you know, some storage here, or plan to try to continue on this chain. So you see, like, there's 4 rounds, and I don't have a whole lot of destructive chains out of the kitty. Without it being immediately useful for me. And now the blue I know I need, because that's my current trigger, and I can't hope to get this lower one to the right here, because if I put this here, the only angle I'd have it is to put it against that blue, which would ruin it. I'm just going to put this there and try to plan it and hope that I get breakers. So now, because it's not really open, because that red piece there, I can almost consider that closed, I want to try to put my tail out. I'll call it like a bigger tail. Make the ignition big, and that's just easy access. You know, it's less likely that it's be interrupted. I can get to it better, so I put that there. And now, I mean, I'm still waiting on this yellow, but again, I'm going to continue to extend my tail, the red. And another blue. So these are just very weird pieces. So the only way that I could use this is, again, sometimes the more that you be able to use each piece is if you get ambitious with it. So now, there's my yellow. But then the only problem is then I miss the ability to do the green. So I'll take that out. And I have to replace this. And now I need another green at the bottom. So I can put this here. And I mean, it's not ideal. It just they just didn't happen real good. And I mean, it still ended up being a 6. You know, the biggest thing with these is just recognizing the positions, because especially in HD Remix, it's just repetition. Just to be able to do it second nature, because if somebody's dropping on you, you can quickly be interrupted. If you fall behind and you get to the diamond before you're toasted. So it's just second nature. I'm more just trying to go through nice and slow and instructive. But to me, if you're trying to chain for numbers, you at least got to get a 6. Sometimes you're not going to have it; you're going to fail. But a 6 to me is a success, because at least it'll put you in a position where you're going to at least mitigate attacks. Anything more than 7, you're in a great position. So again, here we got one breaker start. I always if it's the first breaker, I'm always going to try to bury it in the corner. Now this I'll call, and I mentioned it in some of my other videos, I call it flip the switch, where I have an ignition piece and I make a totally new ignition piece. So now my ignition piece is the green, and now obviously I need another green to put on top there. But what I like to do is keep this spot open next to the green open, because that's for my next breaker, because then I can put that there. It's very easy to add on to the chain. So now I'm satisfying 2 things, because I put the red down there and I stacked it up for the green. So now I got the red. So now my chain's all set up, and now I can do a couple of things with this blue. But really, I want to, the biggest thing I always like to say is 1 away. I mean, you could put it down here and try to get to it later, but right now, it's just the most simplest move is 1 away. I want to try to put the blue there so I can get it to the green, and there's a little bit of luck. My green breaker is the next piece. Over there, I'm just trying to do the best I can with that limited column. But for this here, the blue becomes my ignition piece, the green is ready to go, and this next piece is also pretty good in the sense that I could either post up off the red breaker, or I can do something a little creative here, which I'm going to try. So now I can put the red here. But now you notice if I was to break that green, I would get the red, but then the blue would be 1 short. So I had something else planned, but if you just make it taller so it reaches, which is another big thing, it's like just improving your accessibility in moments like this, so you don't have to be limited terribly by thinking out, just one way. So by adding, by saying like, oh, typically I'm only going to think in 1 block, I made it 3, and now I can make myself a little bit more versatile. So now I got another great option here, because they're going to give me, I look in my window there, it's a blue and a green, I can instantly add another one on here. So this was one that really worked for me. You see, I'm only using 4 columns for my chain. I mean, I really have a whole lot of time to build, because there was a lot of breakers in this one. But I think you're going to see things. And now notice how the blue I needed at least 2 high, and we get a little. That's a success right there. So I'm going to do a couple more, because I see this is already approaching 20 minutes. It's kind of unfortunate that we didn't get as many chains as I'd hoped, but there's just a lot of things that I want to talk about, and this is why, like with the other video, I felt like it's just difficult because a lot of it's hard to articulate. I don't know how many people really want to watch a video like this to this long. I'm sure they like it just fast. It's just hard to edit everything down and get it perfect. But I'll do a couple more examples. So like with this one here, I'm just trying to build. I did this one I almost call like an instant stack. So I have the blue to get to the red, and I'm going to try something here. So I'm going to get the green. going to give me, and even now, like if I mean, say you're likely not going to have time. What I was waiting on was my next yellow, but I'm just showing you how it's coming together. But if I had the options to do this, you know, you would, because you know, maybe you're ahead, maybe they were going a little bit slower. But this is just showing you like the framework of my chains, just kind of why I put them together, what my goal is, because you know a lot of times what you're planning on isn't necessarily always what it comes to be. It's not always necessarily what it turns out. But that's when I'm trying to map things out. That's like example of what I'm thinking. So here is just weird. So again, I call this almost like the insta stack, where I didn't get a breaker to begin with, so I couldn't bury them in the corner. I hated to just generally stack things on the side to just burn them. So I'm just going with this. And again, there'll be some points where I might just decide I wanted to build, but now I'm stubbornly sticking to chaining. So this is what I'm going to do. I got a power gem coming here, and I already see this. So I'm gonna go real ambitious here, and then see what I can do. So now we know we need to get to that red there, and I needed the green red. So like, see, this is the thing where it says sometimes it's easy to get lost in the chain. I've always looked down the stack. You see, once I get the red, I get the yellow, I get the green, I get the red. So it's just a matter of So now this here really is because, let's see what comes up here. Okay, yeah, this is gonna work. So now I see, just because I see that my next piece is red just for kicks. Okay, so now I don't know what comes up. I'm just gonna trigger this. Just if you have the opportunity to wait, like there I seen another green breaker was coming up, I let it lapse because maybe I could have somehow added on to it. You got to be risky, because if there's something coming to you, somebody may cover it up, you may not see it, but it's at least you're leaving yourself the ability. I only had a couple more before the time. We'll just do one or two more here. So a piece to start. I buried it in the corner. Now I'm just trying to keep some builds over here. Give myself options. Okay, here's my real first chance I've had. This is more of a build than anything. So this one here is going to be rough because it's a double connecting. There's not a whole lot I can do with this one. So I'm just going to burn that. The blue I do need. Now Now, this would almost be like more of a power chain type style, because I know that I'm not going to get what I need. It's kind of lost. So I'll talk again a little bit more about the styles. If you're trying to finish somebody quickly, power chains is going to be your best ability to just get a little sneak attack in, real quick move. So now there's a couple of options here. I can put this straight down and use the green to peg off of it, but I feel I want to keep things as short as possible. The shorter they are, and I'll go on the right this time just to show you the difference. But the shorter the stacks are, the easier they are to get to from the bottom, the less limited you are by the top of the screen. So I could do this, but lately I've been preferring this move better. Both be viable, but this is what I prefer. And I can continue to build. I get the same thing with here. I'd really rather not get this too high. I mean, you can do it with your color, but couldn't do that. Really strangely. I mean, the second green breaker just never came. And that's the thing with a lot of times with the chaining is sometimes I'll talk about a quick 6 or a dirty 6, and those are the ones where it almost seems like the pieces are made for what you're thinking at that exact same moment. It's just what you were hoping they'd be. Now, like that, if you get a 6 around the 24th piece, your average guy's attack is probably going to nullify that. You're not going to be in a very good spot. If you get a 6 around the 15th to the 18th, maybe even up to the 20th piece, they can sometimes rush to the diamond, but they're going to have a harder time. You get that quick 6 within shorter pieces, it's just almost an instant win, unless they see it coming and get some lucky drops. So here, you just seen the yellow's my ignition piece. And what I want to do is, just in case the yellow comes up as my next, like right now I'm 4 pieces away, I'd have to get creative. See, now here's exactly what I'm saying. So now I'm 1 away from the yellow. Boom, it's right in there. And now this here, again, like I said, I don't want to make them too tall, but I don't want to interfere with my build over there on the right that I got going. And it doesn't bother anything about making 3 tall instead of 4. So now, here's an interesting setup that I don't think I've done yet in this video. I want to, or maybe I did maybe in the beginning, but 2 breakers came back to back. So here, this is perfect. Now normally what I'd like to do, when I said about that, I don't like to breaker on breaker, so I don't really want to use this yellow to hit that other yellow, but I do need another yellow down here, if you noticed. So slap, there's another requirement. So this is in there. So now I have an open column. I can finish the chain right here if I want. Because it's really quick. But the other you see a lot of times too is you might have somebody who knows what you're doing, and they may do a 4-chain and ruin your 6, and then you may get to the diamond first, and you could be in a rough spot. So it's always a game of risk versus reward. But here again, we got the one out the gate and not much sense. So now the blue there, I know I could eventually get to. So that's why I like to keep 3 separate colors going from obviously my ignition, 1 color, and then the 3 other colors all along the bottom. So now I'm going to require that I get a red breaker to be able to have that blue actually even come into play. But we'll see. So now I want to be able to get to the yellow there. Whew. This is getting very, very weird. So let's see. Yeah, this is just a strange chain. I never got that red, so it'll keep you alive, but to me that's a failure in terms of what I was trying to do, what I'd hoped to do. So here, this is again something where I say sometimes I contradict myself in the sense that sometimes I just like to leave options, and I'll have like a power gem on the bottom here, but I talk about keeping this column short so I can burn it and add on to things. So here we go, flip my script. So I talk about my classic, and there's my green, so that works out wonderfully. Now here's my other green. Now, okay, now this is something I'm glad I got to see. This is what I call a placeholder, because you get the second green and you think like, well shit, I don't want to use it because this red, I'm just going to get that one in the corner. Because you think like, I hate to use 2 breakers against each other, and that's just a wasted green. So here's a way that you can get to it while also, okay, this works out wonderfully, just wonderful. So you'll see, this would be a dream setup here. Like I say, sometimes, this isn't necessarily as fast, and this is where I talk about always looking at what your next piece is, because you'd be tempted to do it like this. You're losing out on 1 chain. So I throw this in here, and now watch this. Watch how this breaks. That red is a placeholder. I got no plan for it other than to allow me to use that second green breaker as my ignition, but still have the first green do it without using breaker on breaker. To me, use breaker on breaker, you lose a chain, because typically it would be 1, 2 chains you can potentially get using it in 1. So I'll do the mishmash. This is something a little different. Just make a stack of things. I like the green, so I need to no. Green breaker. To the left, but I missed out, not having anything. So now instead of doing this, sometimes I like to see my second breaker before I commit. So I just like to leave flexibility, I like to leave freedom. So now, in case I want to flip the script off that piece, like I do, that's exactly what happened. So now as before, if I would have had the pieces already on top, I'm committed. But now, so I don't want to put this here, I don't want to put that there, because then I'm using breaker on breaker. So now I can start to do this. So you got to remember where you're at. I still need, and be careful, here's another pitfall. If I'm to extend these greens all the way up, I'm dropping my stack, which you do not want to do. So I still need a red to the left. Don't forget where you are. I need 2 reds in this equation right now. And the only thing that's tough about that is I was hoping for another red piece before I got the green breaker. But because I can put one away from it, like I say, is always my goal, I'm going to put this there, and I hope I get a chance to show you how this goes. Now, that's where I talk about being ambitious here. Now, I couldn't put the blue and hope to get down, avoiding another pitfall. If I was to try to put this here and then go down to the red, I'd break that other red that I don't want prematurely. So now I just need a red piece here to finish this. The only tough thing is that, no, this will be okay. So here's my red. And again, like I'm talking, let's see what happens here. I got another red that I can see. And now this where I mentioned I can add one on. This is why I waited. This showed everything that I was talking, because I waited, and now I can add one onto the chain when I knew that even if the diamond came up, I could still trigger it on the piece before, because they all had red in them. And now because I was able to add on to it, I got an 8 instead of a 7, which an 8's almost an instant win, especially if the other guy's not chaining. If the other guy's chaining, yeah, he gets a 6, he'll probably survive, but at least it puts you in the driver's seat. So we'll just do 1 or 2 more here. And this is just, like I said, I'll talk a lot more about building principles at a later time, but for now, I'm just talking about the chaining aspect. So this yellow is a little higher than what I'd like. Again, I'm starting to feel limited, but here, so I can't rally off the red, because then I'm getting much too high. So now what I can do though is I can put this down here, yeah, and see, and now I'm very limited. So now I don't even know if I can get this up here like so. Let's see. Yeah, it would have been really good if I would have got a blue and a green, because then things would have just started to come down the pipe for me here, and you get a little sample of what it would have been. And I'm in a good position here. See, I got breakers, I got things going. I'll wait for one more 7+ chain, and I'll call it here. And I believe I got to talk about most of my principles. Here's a true mixed stack. And again, this is a tough one. Put it down at the bottom. Hope for a green. And here we go. That way I can extend. Okay, perfect. So now I got my green. And that's where I was worried about getting a yellow piece. Now I don't even have to, because I get the green, I get the red, I get the green, I get the red, and that'll fall down and get the yellows in the bottom. And now I'm just hinging off this one. So I need another green breaker. And the interesting thing about this is I can actually diamond blue and The other one is I'm burying that red breaker so they couldn't even get it if they wanted to with a mess up. So now I'm extending my tail. Now I'm just making breakers stack. I got that. Let's see. So how am I going to get to this here? I want that one away. I need a blue. With a lot of garbage. Let's see here. So now here we go. It's gonna now, because they're not coming, it leaves me an opportunity to just put some things together. So here we go. Got that. Okay. I'm gonna use this one here as a drop. Put that there. Now I'm posting off that blue again, even though now, like, I've gotten so many of them. I hate to keep attempting this, but I need a green, and now another one and another blue. Gosh, and still no. Waiting on the greens there. So you see, sometimes, you know, it just does not work out. And you either got to try your plan B, you have to try something else. So like this one here, I would almost guarantee that just by the distribution of the pieces initially, this isn't going to be a chainer's delight. So I'm just going to have to attempt something else. He's going to go to your backup plan, which is building, and then maybe now it's chaining in the middle game here. So let's see. I know I don't want to connect those necessarily here. Now you notice that I just needed to get to this green here to start the chain. So I'm just really trying to build up. This is what I talk about, building up to it. So there it is. So this will at least give me something. And that's also another reason why I like to go with the cascade instead of the scoop, is because you see there, a lot of the principles that I use as far as goes it's just a little different way to do things. So now, really, I'm waiting on blues, which they never came. So here, but again, at least I'm in a decently favorable position in the sense that I got a nice gem. Depends upon what they're working on. Maybe they would have buried me. Who knows? So, okay. Now we got a ready-made. Now you cannot. Here's another thing where you'll try to see what this is like. If I can scoot, if it's going to be easy to scoot, I'm going to try it. But you couldn't put this there because as you attempt to have to put it one away, you bump into the first chain. So you always have to put it at least 2 away to have a chance to get it. Now again, I don't like to do breaker on breaker, but there's just so many blues kicking around. Another one that your options just become limited. So I'm going to need a yellow to have a chance. Another blue breaker. Sometimes you just shake your head. Let's see. I'm going to need a yellow just to be able to make this into something. Okay, there it is. Now, okay, so see, a lot of times things just get detonated when you just don't get exactly like you're hoping. That was a lot of premature detonations, but so now, let's see. I got something going. So I'm going to just use that as my different. Okay, perfect. I'm 1 away. Now I need a yellow on the bottom. I got my greens. I can use that placeholder ignition move. Now I got 2 options. I can either put this up here, or I can put it here and build off in a different way. So it's all just personal preference. So I got this there. Now really what I'm hoping on. Now this is an ambitious move because a green-yellow piece triggers it for me. But because it's only accessible from one side, okay, there it is. So I would have loved to have gotten that blue in the corner, because that would, you love to finish with a power gem. You love to have a little bit of flair, and that would have been a wonderful piece. Now a placeholder. Notice that green was a placeholder for me. That's a real critical move to be able to use that breaker to extend that into a 7 instead of a 5 or a 6. So I think this is approaching an hour. I don't even know if anybody will be interested in watching this whole thing. But that's, I think I almost touched, and going a little bit longer like I did, I really felt like I was able to touch on a lot more principles than I was in the other videos. There's still, I feel like there'd still be more that I'd like to talk about, but I really do believe that that's at least a great start.